Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me here as we work to restore some of our history here in southeastern Ohio. Today, I'm going to start a project where we are going to work to do some restoration of a very small family cemetery. This is called the Ripley Cemetery. We're located in Patriot, Ohio. Patriot is a little community, an unincorporated community down in the southern part of Gallia County in southeastern Ohio. If you were to choose to visit Patriot, then the odds are somewhere before you got too far away, you would get behind an Amish buggy, because this has become one of the places in this part of the state where there's a high concentration of Amish families, an Amish community that lives here. If you would have gone back 150 years ago, though, you would have found a large population of folks named Ripley. Those folks are my ancestors. But today, I want to just kind of get started with looking at this little cemetery. There are just a handful of burials here. Almost all of them are folks named Ripley or folks named Edler, which was a German family that married into the Ripley family along the line. There are some unmarked graves. There are some graves that have only field stones attached to them. There are some broken stones. Some of the stones have been vandalized. The cemetery is actually in a whole lot better shape than it was not too long ago. Just a few years ago, my mom was working on some of our genealogy and decided that she would try to find this cemetery because she knew that we had ancestors that were buried here. And she did manage to locate it, but when she found it, it was overgrown. Cows were grazing in it. Virtually all the stones were knocked over, vandalized. It was a mess. So Mom got on the phone, got in touch with the sheriff's department, some of the county commissioners, and they managed to get some folks up here to do some mowing and some weeding and just kind of do their best to get the place back on the map. And then a couple years after that, some folks here in the community who were also descended from these same people took it on themselves to do a really good job of bringing the cemetery back to life. They brought some equipment in and excavated some of the big trees and brush that was growing in here. They did their best to repair some stones. They laid some stones out, which I'll show you here in a moment, that were not easily repaired. But as time has gone on from there, that's been 10, 12 years ago. And in that time, we've had some biological growth on some of these stones. There are a couple of the stones that need to be reset, as well as perhaps repaired and stood back up. And so that's the project that I wanted to get started on. This is the little introduction. I'm going to take you around and give you an overview of the cemetery. We'll look at some of the problem stones and some of the things that we'll be thinking about. And then over the next few weeks, as we go, we'll keep checking in and let you see what kind of progress we're making. So stay tuned, everybody. First of all, let's just sort of take a panoramic view here and let you see what I'm talking about when I say that this is a very small cemetery. Right there is pretty much it. There are several that are basically unmarked or very crudely marked. As we go through here, you can notice that some of the stones have damage. We'll get some close-ups of those here momentarily. Right here toward the front, we see a stone that is basically laying flat. I can't tell if anything has been engraved on that. It sort of looks as though there has. So one of the things that I will want to do here relatively soon is we will pull this stone out, look to see if we can find a base for it, do some very basic, very simple and non-invasive cleaning of it. Here's another one that's laying down flat that looks as if it could have been either a headstone or possibly even a broken off piece of a larger stone. You can see the curvature here, and then this little stone that might be a footstone, or it could have been something that was put here to mark the burial of a baby. This is one of the more impressive stones in this cemetery, and it's also the one that probably has the most damage, and I have not decided what I'm even going to try to do with it. This is a young lady who died at 18 shortly after giving birth to her first child. She was buried here. Her husband, in some of the, in one census it says that he was a physician, and another census it says that he was a pharmacist. Not long after that, they moved up to the Columbus, Ohio area, and he's listed as a salesman. So I'm not sure exactly how all that worked out. He and his second wife are buried in Columbus, and this lady is here. I think, if nothing else, I'm going to try to pull these pieces out and kind of see what kind of condition they're in. At least clean the grass out from it before I set it back in the frame that someone has built. It's broken into about 7 pieces. One of the problems with it is that it's very high. It's 4.5 feet or so if it were standing upright. So I haven't decided if it is repairable and could be stood up and expected to last. There should be a base for it somewhere, and I'm going to try to probe around and see if I can find a base that's been buried. We'll let you see that when we get to it. Here's another stone that looks like it might just be a field stone. Right here is quite a pretty teenage, I guess I would say, oak tree. There's a double trunk, which isn't great, but it is quite a nice oak tree. It was left here when the last people did the restoration work up here for the cemetery. And there was a nice little concrete bench that sat underneath it. But since then, it has had some growth come into it, which we see here. And I will most likely trim all this out. Again, here are broken stones. This one has been marked during the earlier restoration with a wooden cross. I'll share some pictures that were taken shortly after that restoration. There were actually a number of wooden crosses that were placed here, apparently where they were able to find and identify other burials. But most of those are no longer here, probably knocked down during mowing. We will likely see them somewhere along the line. This stone is completely crumbled. We have here a small stone that was either a marker for a child or a footstone. Right below it, there's another little chunk of limestone or something of the sort. Right next to this is one of my most interesting people that I think are in this cemetery. This again is a young lady who married George Edler, and George is buried right there. And we'll tell her story, but she was a young girl, died very young, again after giving birth. It's also missing a base. This almost certainly would have had a keystone base with a slot carved into it that the stone itself sat in. There's vandalism there, which is similar to something else that I'll show you. It's clearly been shot somewhere along the line. So that'll be something that we'll have to address. This stone, frankly, I can't read this. It is for an Edler, I believe. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing right here, Edler. And I think this might say Jesse, or I won't even speculate. This is one that desperately needs cleaned, and I will probably clean it while I'm here today, at least get started cleaning on it. You perhaps can't see it very well in the video, but this stone is also leaning a good bit toward the front. I think there's been some subsidence here toward the front that's allowed the base to cave down just a little bit, and that's got us some leaning action going. So we won't be working on it today, but somewhere along the line we will need probably to use a hoist and raise this thing up so that we can get to that bottom base, which we will level, put a good foundation of gravel and sand under it, and then re-cement everything using historically accurate and good setting materials. We have a couple more small stones here with just initials. Right here is a military stone that is totally illegible, partly because of the biological growth on it that we can clean, but also because of the fact that it has been vandalized with being shot at. Here's a military marker for Nathan Ripley, who served in the 141st Ohio Infantry during the Civil War. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it says that he was a fifer during the war. This stone is marble. It, though, does need some cleaning. We'll do some gentle cleaning on it, and probably have it looking much better before we leave today. I'm going to back up just a little bit because this is sort of the keystone of the entire cemetery. This is for Joshua Ripley. Joshua was the patriarch of this family. He was born in 1772 and died in 1860. He was one of the first families that migrated to this part of Ohio shortly after the land was opened up for settlement. Before that, it was pretty much Indian territory. So Joshua came here. He, we believe, served in the War of 1812, which probably made him eligible for some of the land grants that were given to those soldiers. He came here and began a Baptist church not too far from here, a few miles over, closer to the river, and spent the rest of his life here. Had several children, and he is our oldest ancestor from here in this part of the country. Many of the Ripleys, there were 4 or 5 generations of them that grew up here in southeastern Ohio. And then they began to migrate out west. So You'll find several of them in Iowa in different places. There's, as best I can tell, very few descendants of the Ripleys that are still around in Gallia County. This stone has a bunch of damage on it. It has been shot. It has a corner broken off down here that someone has attempted to fill previously, and that fill seems to be failing, shrinking. So there's that problem. Where the shot hit, it began a crack that goes all the way around to the backside. So this piece, I could see it getting water in it during our cold winters, and the expansion and contraction causing that chunk to come back out altogether. And then the other major problem is for the base itself. That base, I believe, is limestone, and it's got a significant break there on the bottom corner of it. It's been a very nice stone. I don't know if you can see the detail work there, but it has some very nice detail carving along the bottom of it. Right in here is engraving from the person who made the stone, and I'm interested in getting that to where we can read it. This stone isn't filthy, and I probably will just spray it with some biological cleaner. Now, almost certainly, in fact, I will guarantee, this stone was added here sometime after Joshua Ripley died, probably by his son Amos. Amos was born in 1813 and died in 1888. He is not a direct ancestor of mine. I come down through his brother Ammon, but Amos was buried. They have his name engraved on one side of the stone. Amos's wife Polly is on this side of the stone, and then on the front with Joshua, you may have noticed that there was a young child that died about 4 years old, Joseph, who was Amos and Polly's son. He was buried here, and then this little obelisk was added as a memorial for all of them. It did have a finial on top, and you can see the hole right here that had the pin that supported the finial. I found the finial back next to that other obelisk stone back there that we'll talk about in a moment. And it's damaged, the pin is missing. I would like to find some way of adding it back to this stone. Again, this stone has a lot of stuff that needs done with it, and we will just kind of have to see how it goes. This is the other large memorial stone. It is for A. Ripley. I see M-A-T. Again, it is very weathered. I think this is marble. It's quite soft. I am going to spray it with some biological cleaner before I go, but I'm not comfortable even using a soft brush on this stone. I would like to at least get it so that it is legible. It looks like there's a nice verse inscribed there that we might be able to read, and we certainly will be able to tell. I think it says that the person was 52 when they died, and we'll be able to see the name. Now, the other thing about this stone is the bush that's growing out of the back of it. My first inclination was to cut it out, and then I got to looking. I identified it as a winged sumac. You can see the wings in between each leaf here. So this is a winged sumac. It is a very It's a native tree. It's a very valuable tree. It feeds birds in the wintertime. The pollinators like it. So once I figured that out, I thought that maybe it would be best just to leave it, since it doesn't seem to be growing too much into this stone. On further reflection, though, once I got up here, that is sumac. That is sumac. We have sumac over here, some over here, and quite a bit as we go down the hill toward the road. So I am back to the point that I believe that this bush can come out without doing any great damage to the animals and birds that live around, and it will certainly open this up and make this look a good bit better and prevent, shade is one of the things that can sort of encourage growth on these stones. So I think that I am going to take that out. Finally, we have a couple more burials back here for the Edler family. This is Homer. We can see that his stone is disconnected from its base. You can see how it rocks. The base looks to be a good sound base, but it's not particularly level. So this is definitely one that we will take the top off. We'll level that base. We'll reattach it with some compound and get it looking nice again. Maybe sitting there for another 100 years. And this is quite a nice stone as well. This is the other George Edler. He, I believe, was a veteran of the Civil War as well, was wounded there. You see he and his wife buried Nancy. There's a small stone there, which may have been a footstone, or it could be a child. We'll look and see if there's insignia. There's a small stone there. There's a small stone there. All right, I think that's enough for today, at least as far as this introduction goes. This little cemetery sits at the top of a hill. There's no road up here, but the township trustees do keep the access mowed. They do bring someone up here to mow fairly regularly. I was here 5 days ago and it needed mowed, and you can see that it has since been mowed. Now, it has not been trimmed. That's okay as far as I'm concerned, because people using weed eaters carelessly are a good way to further damage these stones. But yeah, as it is, that has us to where we should be able to work. So we'll catch you next time. We look forward to you joining us then. The next little bit, I'm going to demonstrate how we will clean some of these stones, both ones that we want to be, that we're comfortable being a little bit more aggressive with, as well as ones that we feel are very fragile and that we don't want to do too much with. So join us back next time. We'll do some cleaning, and bookmark this, like this, mark it so that you're able to find us again easily and you can follow along with this little project as we go. Thanks for joining. We'll see you soon.